Jose Mourinho once sat in front of Chelsea's board and said just 5 words: do not sell this guy. He was talking about Kevin De Bruyne, and if Mourinho is begging, you know it means something, because the special one doesn't beg for anyone. But here's the twist: Chelsea didn't listen. They sold him anyway. And that decision may have cost them titles, dominance, maybe even a dynasty. Now, Chelsea fans, let's be honest, your club has made some shocking transfer decisions over the years, and I don't mean the kind where a player just flops. I'm talking about players who were already in your dressing room ready to explode into greatness, but somehow slipped away. Mohamed Salah, Romelu Lukaku, and then, of course, Kevin De Bruyne. Stick around for more. Hit subscribe and never miss our 2 fresh football stories each week. At the time, De Bruyne wasn't even good enough to warm the bench at Stamford Bridge. That's how they saw him. But fast forward a few years and he's one of the best midfielders the Premier League has ever seen, breaking defenses, racking up assists, and winning trophies. So, how did Chelsea manage to let go of a player who could have changed their history? How did one mistake cost them titles, dominance, maybe even a dynasty? Let's rewind to 30th September 2017, Stamford Bridge, Chelsea versus Manchester City. 90 minutes of football, but only one moment that really mattered. Kevin De Bruyne picks up the ball, shifts onto his left, and smashes it past Thibaut Courtois. City win 1-0. And the man of the match, Kevin De Bruyne, against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Talk about football irony. That night, City dominated, and De Bruyne ran the show. His passing cut Chelsea open, his movement dragged them all over the pitch, and his strike sealed it. After the match, Antonio Conte was asked about him, and he just shook his head. We are talking about a top player, the complete player. Technical, fast, hardworking, complete. But here's the thing. This complete player actually belonged to Chelsea not long before that night. He was theirs between 2012 and 2014. They had him in their squad, in their training ground, in their hands. He was first spotted back in 2011 when Genk faced Chelsea in the Champions League. A young 20-year-old De Bruyne didn't do much that night. He looked sluggish, played a couple of neat passes, and that was it. Most fans in the stadium shrugged. Behind the scenes, Michael Emenalo, Chelsea's sporting director, was the one who pushed hardest for him. It wasn't even the manager signing at first, and Emenalo had a funny record. When he got it wrong, it looked awful. But when he got it right, he really got it right. De Bruyne was meant to be one of those wins. Even Andre Villas-Boas, Chelsea's manager at the time, wasn't exactly buzzing. When De Bruyne signed for just £7 million, AVB basically said, "Look, this is a club signing. They scouted him, not me." It didn't sound like Chelsea were buying the next midfield genius, right? But little did they know. After signing for Chelsea, the plan was simple. Leave him at Genk for the rest of the season, let him grow a little, then bring him in. But when he finally showed up in London, it wasn't exactly fireworks. The summer was quiet, and before you knew it, De Bruyne was shipped off on loan to Werder Bremen. Now, here's the twist. That move made him. At Bremen, he played regularly, carried a struggling side, and suddenly the reports going back to Chelsea were glowing. This kid's the real deal. But along with those glowing reports came whispers that De Bruyne wanted more. He wasn't coming back to sit on the bench. He wanted to start. By the summer of 2013, Chelsea had Jose Mourinho back in charge. And this is where things got messy. De Bruyne thought he'd earned his shot. Mourinho thought the kid's ego was bigger than his CV. From day one, there was tension. It all boiled over in the most random of places, Swindon Town's county ground, in a League Cup game. De Bruyne was given a chance, and he blew it. He looked off the pace, half-hearted, almost like he wasn't trying. Mourinho yanked him off with 12 minutes left, furious. For Jose, that was enough. For De Bruyne, that was the beginning of the end at Chelsea, and that was pretty much it for Kevin De Bruyne at Chelsea. After that Swindon game, his fate was sealed. His Cobham parking spot downgraded to the under-21s lot. His file dumped out of the first team tray and into the thanks but no thanks pile. By January, he was gone, off to Wolfsburg for £18 million. On paper, good business. Chelsea moved on, De Bruyne moved on, everyone's happy, right? Well, not quite, because here comes the twist. In 2015, Manchester City came calling, dropped £55 million and built their midfield around him. They didn't just buy De Bruyne, they invested in him, protected him, gave him the keys. And instead of crumbling under the pressure of a mega deal, KDB grew into it. That price tag didn't scare him, it fueled him. And here's the killer. Chelsea could have had all of that. 6 months after De Bruyne left, Frank Lampard's legendary spot in midfield opened up. That was the perfect seat waiting for KDB to claim. but instead he was long gone. Mourinho fired within 18 months. Chelsea rebuilding midfields around players like Tiémoué Bakayoko. Meanwhile, De Bruyne was busy becoming the best playmaker in England. A combination of a supernatural passing range, relentless work ethic, and tactical intelligence, he has become not only one of the greatest midfielders of the Premier League era, but one of the most influential players of a generation. At Manchester City, he wasn't just another midfielder. He became the conductor of an orchestra that dominated English football. 6 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups, 5 League Cups, 3 Community Shields, and finally, the Champions League. But beyond the silverware, it's the artistry, the way he could bend the game to his will with a single pass. When he returned to England in 2015, not everyone believed. English pundits dismissed his Wolfsburg heroics, calling him good, but not great. Yet City scouts saw a different picture. 21 Bundesliga assists in a single season, a league record. This wasn't luck, it was the beginning of a decade of domination. His debut year showed flashes of genius, 16 goals and 13 assists, taking City to their first Champions League semi-final. But under Pep Guardiola, he transformed from a gifted midfielder into the beating brain of the greatest Premier League side ever assembled. And as City rewrote football history, 100 points, domestic clean sweeps, 4 titles in a row. One man's fingerprints were always on the ball. Kevin De Bruyne, the man Chelsea sold for £18 million, was suddenly priceless. Under Pep Guardiola, De Bruyne's game hit a level most midfielders could only dream of. Pep didn't just give him freedom, he gave him responsibility. Every attack flowed through him. If City were a machine, De Bruyne was the engine, the spark plug, and the GPS all at once. Defending is hard enough on the best of days, but against him, almost impossible. Since 2015, Premier League defenders never knew where to stand. Too close, and he'd thread a ball over the top. Too deep, and he'd punish you with a strike from distance. You could almost hear a sigh of relief from defenders the moment he announced this would be his final season at Manchester City. But this wasn't the end. In the summer of 2025, Kevin De Bruyne shocked the football world by joining Napoli, trading the Premier League spotlight for a new chapter in Serie A. For Chelsea fans, it made the regret even sharper. The player they once let go for €18 million had now become one of the most iconic transfers of the decade. And while Chelsea were left wondering what they let slip, City built an empire around him. 10 seasons, 6 league titles, 2 FA Cups, 5 League Cups, and the Holy Grail, a Champions League trophy. Every piece of silverware had his fingerprints on it. The numbers tell the story, but even they don't do justice. Over 400 appearances, more than 1,000 chances created, and a Premier League assist record only Ryan Giggs can top. But here's the difference. Giggs needed almost 300 minutes for every assist. De Bruyne, he was serving one up every 177 minutes, efficiency that no midfielder in history can match. And he didn't just do it against small clubs. Arsenal, Liverpool, United, Newcastle, you name it, he broke them. Some suffered more than others, like Southampton, who felt his wrath almost every time. His partnerships became legendary too. First Aguero, now Haaland. Each strike force looked unstoppable with De Bruyne pulling the strings, and yet Pep Guardiola said it best, a sad day, but a happy day. I had the pleasure to live this time with him.
A happy day for the fact that the pleasure personally that we live, or I live this time with him.
For everyone else in the Premier League, it's mostly just sad, because Kevin De Bruyne wasn't just a midfielder, he was a cheat code. Trying to get good players is straightforward, but trying to get great players, that's what to say. That's a curious mix of gambling, alchemy, nous, and luck. Manchester United spent £60 million on Angel Di Maria just after he was man of the match in the Champions League final and one late strike away from potentially winning the World Cup, but he didn't work out. Manchester City spent just over half that on Sergio Aguero 3 years earlier, and he became one of the greatest goal scorers the Premier League has ever seen. Even more strikingly, United let Paul Pogba walk away for free, only for him to become one of the best midfielders in the world. So sure, with Kevin De Bruyne, it looks like Chelsea came out on the wrong side of the equation, but that's hardly a reason to point fingers. In football, sometimes it's just business as usual. And that's the cruel beauty of football. One transfer, one decision, one what if can rewrite history forever. Chelsea let Kevin De Bruyne slip through their fingers. Manchester City built an empire around him. So tell me, was this Chelsea's biggest mistake ever? Or is there another decision that changed football even more? Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep loving the game.